Today's video was requested by the Critical Kid.
Hey everyone.
A couple years ago, I did a rant video on lazy jump scares and why I think they're one of the worst things for horror films. So now let's talk about what makes god-awful, unfunny comedy movies really unfunny. Yes, I know comedy is entirely subjective, but after the 5 years I've been doing videos on YouTube on bad movies, I often think, what do these movies have in common and what could they do that could make them better? If you're a longtime follower of my videos, you know that I despise watching crap like Movie 43, Disaster Movie, Inappropriate Comedy, Soul Plane, and the list goes on. But what's one of the key elements making these movies and movies like them suck so hard? With parody movies like Disaster Movie just spouting out references to stuff the writers didn't even see, there are great parody movies out there that use the wonderful tool of satire to their advantage. Not only do satirists like Mel Brooks and the Monty Python guys do very well-intentioned lampoons, there's parodies that are insanely brilliant, like Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy. Movies that are genuinely funny, well-written, clever, and are really unique jabs at the horror genre, the action genre, and the sci-fi genre. The reason that spoof movies like Airplane, Spaceballs, The Holy Grail, and the Cornetto movies are funny is because of how seriously they're treated. I mean, watch the original Ghostbusters, take out all the comedy, and you have a straightforward horror film. The serious tone combined with the silly delivery and wacky imagery is what makes it funny. It's not just,
hey look, it's the Incredible Hulk. Oh no, he just stepped on Paris Hilton. And Paris Hilton said, that's hot. And then...
Out of all three of the Cornetto movies, the one that makes the most direct references to other movies is Hot Fuzz. The one that most people consider to be the best one. Another thing about bad comedies is the very below-the-belt humor. Now look, I'm not a prude. I like Beavis and Butthead. I like immature humor.
He said anus.
Entertain us, anus. Oh yeah.
But the thing is, sometimes it comes off incredibly forced and very, very unfunny. A popular example is The Love Guru. This movie is very crass. This movie is very immature. But that's not what makes it bad. What makes it bad is how unfunny it is. This movie seems to think that anything and everything that even remotely resembles a dick joke is funny. And let me tell you, hearing bad jokes is one thing. Hearing bad jokes from Mike Myers doing an awful faux Indian voice is irritating after the first 3 minutes. I mean, one of the key jokes in this movie is, hey look, it's funny because Justin Timberlake's playing a French Canadian with a name that sounds like Big Dick. And after a while, it gets old really fast. One of my go-to examples for lazy crass comedy is The Change-Up. In it, a hard-working family man played by Jason Bateman and a slacker loudmouth played by Ryan Reynolds switch bodies. Now I love Ryan Reynolds, but his dialogue in this movie is so lazily written. Every 5 words he drops the F-bomb. Reynolds, in Bateman's body, goes to his work and uses crass language. Now the setup could be really funny, but the delivery is awful and what kills it. Now whatever you do, make sure Gup-Till-89 doesn't find out about these movies.
Do you absolutely think it is necessary to spew out dirty language and have it bounce off a viewer's eardrums?
Another example of an unfunny gross-out comedy with a bunch of forced sex jokes is Stan Helsing. If you want, I did a full review of that, so feel free to go check that out. But let's just say, it's basically the same thing as Disaster Movie with unfunny references, but instead, they have a bunch of really unfunny gross-out jokes. The reason I still like shows like South Park, The Boondocks, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and The Chappelle Show isn't just because they're offensive. Don't get me wrong, there's jokes in these shows that I don't think that are that funny. However, when these shows are genuinely smart and funny, I think they're hysterical. I think as offensive as Borat and Bruno can be, I still think they're funny because they provide commentary on society. Not only do the fictional characters of Baron Cohen know what they're doing is tasteless to modern society standards, it's funny because you have genuine reactions from real people. When Ari Shaffir attempted to redo this kind of thing in Inappropriate Comedy, it just came off as fake, scripted, and cringy, just like a, well, YouTube prank video. The only joke that Soul Plane had to offer was a paper-thin premise that wouldn't even work as a 2-minute skit on SNL or Mad TV. The whole premise is, what if black people owned an airport? And the rest is just a bunch of stereotypes. Jokes that even the worst Wayans Brothers movies would say weren't funny. And they made white chicks. They made Little Man. There's a really good episode of The Office that tackles this whole subject. I really recommend you watch it. It's called Sexual Harassment from the 2nd season. Highly recommend this episode. It's amazing.
You always left me satisfied and smiling, so...
That's what she said.
And now, since it was requested of him, here's Adam Sykes of the Blockbusters Show and his review of Walk of Fame. Hey everybody, it's me, Adam of the Blockbusters Show, and today we're going to be looking at just a bad movie that got requested, but I didn't want to make a full video about it, so I decided we could just sort of throw it into this video and it would sort of tie along with the overall theme of this. The film is called Walk of Fame, and it was in theaters for a very, very short time. It has, I don't know how much of a budget, it's right there in the bottom of the screen. It has two actors I recognize, and the son of Clint Eastwood, so there's that. But you've got Malcolm McDowell, who, you know, Malcolm McDowell is he's a lot like Christopher Lloyd or Christopher Walken, that, yeah, they're great actors, but they end up in a lot of god-awful movies, and this is not the first time I've seen Malcolm McDowell in a bad movie. There was this one movie I planned for a Blockbusters review that went nowhere, and it was called Suing the Devil, and Malcolm McDowell plays the devil in it, and that looked horrible. And Chris Kattan is also in it, and really, I don't think that's a surprise for anybody because it's Chris Kattan. He belongs in something like this. The overall gist, you have this guy who's down on his luck, he's trying to make some money, so he decides he's going to be in this play, and there's a bunch of other actors. There's a girl who he forms a relationship with. There's a token short person because we just didn't get enough of that with Under the Rainbow. Malcolm McDowell in the movie plays this pretentious, snooty director who thinks he's directing high art when in reality he's directing crap. Now, the reason I didn't want to make this a full Blockbusters episode is because, really, you just have to look at the trailer. Just look at some of these clips I'm about to show.
I need something strange. What are you laughing at?
Yes, hi, I need an officer. I was humped. Yes, he had a black face.
Mask! Okay, he had a mask.
I feel like I was ridden hard and put away hot and wet.
You're so amazing, babe. Like your boobs are heaving and...
Hey, Nikki.
You go here now?
Yeah, I just started. Okay, Nancy, were you able to secure any details?
I already told you, get a black face.
Mask! The mask!
Tell me to let you go or I'll hold you like this all day, woman. Ow!
Little handicapped boys, you sick little perverts!
What? No!
He's just helping me so I can go inside and blow him away.
And tell me what's wrong with it. I mean, just take a lot of the same stuff I've said about bad movies on Blockbusters before. The same complaints that I had about stuff like Meet the Spartans and The Comebacks and Breaking Wind and Under the Rainbow that just relied on pointless shock humor that wasn't funny. I think I speak for both Wiz and myself, but reviewing movies like this, it gets tiresome after a while. Maybe we'll come back to it eventually, but reviewing bad parody movies and lazy, raunchy comedies that have stupid shock humor, it becomes kind of tiresome to review. I mean, after a while, there's only so much you can say, but, oh, look, they made a stupid reference to something that's dated, or, oh, look, this movie feels like it was written by a bunch of 14-year-olds. It just feels not only tiresome to watch the same things and come to the same conclusions, but it also becomes kind of tiresome as content, and that's something that we don't want you guys to feel bored of. But yeah, as for Walk of Fame, don't watch it. It's basically the same kind of thing you'd expect from Movie 43. It's lazy raunch humor, lazy crass humor that's just trying to shock you and it's not saying anything at all. It's not funny. It's really cringy. The movie itself looks like it was made back in 2002 and yet was released in like 2017.